Tonight, stunning new developments in the high-profile murder case of a young Murfreesboro woman.
The prime suspect allegedly recorded the fatal attack.
On a warm summer night in August 2015, 22-year-old Heather Maples was living her best life. She had recently moved to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, to pursue her dreams of going to college and becoming a counselor. She had a close group of new friends, a job she enjoyed, and was excitedly preparing to start classes at Middle Tennessee State University in just a few weeks. But in the early morning hours of August 7th, Heather's promising life was cut brutally short. She was found dead in her apartment, the victim of a horrific murder. She was found lying on a mattress on her stomach in the apartment living room. Detectives saw signs of blunt force trauma to her head and marks on her neck to indicate strangulation, and she was possibly sexually assaulted. The shocking crime sent shockwaves through the community and left Heather's loved ones devastated. But the shock was yet to come. Heather knew the person who took her life. In fact, she trusted him with her life. He was the guy she called when she felt down. Heather's shocking story is a lesson for anyone who trusts their friends blindly, and it's a tragic reminder that sometimes the worst things happen to the kindest people out there. This is the full story of Heather Maples. Heather was born in Florida in 1992. Her mother, Jennifer Hunter, called her a hurricane baby because she was born during Hurricane Andrew. From a young age, Heather had a natural inclination to help others. Her best friend growing up, Jennifer Holt Gomez, described how Heather's outgoing nature helped bring her out of her shell when they met in elementary school. When Heather was in 7th grade, her younger brother Ryan was born with a developmental disorder. Despite her young age, Heather stepped up to help care for Ryan, spending much of her time nurturing him and helping him learn how to walk and talk. This experience inspired Heather's dream of pursuing a career in counseling someday. After graduating high school in Texas, Heather made the bold decision to move to Tennessee on her own to start fresh and work toward her goals. She quickly made a few new friends and embraced her newfound independence. Those who knew her described Heather as joyful, beautiful inside and out, and someone who drew others to her with her warm personality. Heather's mom Jennifer said her daughter walked around with a smile on her face and was always thinking of others. Her friend Kelsey Price was immediately struck by the good vibe and light that Heather gave off when they first met. Heather's kindness and compassion were evident to all those who crossed her path. In the summer of 2015, everything seemed to be falling into place for Heather. She had her own apartment, a job that she enjoyed at an apartment complex leasing office, and a solid group of friends. Most exciting of all, she had just been accepted to Middle Tennessee State University and would be starting classes that fall to pursue her dream of becoming a counselor. On August 5, 2015, Heather called her mom with what she described as the best news of her life, her college acceptance. Jennifer recalls how excited and proud Heather was, barely able to get the words out. After years of helping others, Heather was embarking on a path to make a career out of it. The future looked bright, and everyone told her how proud they were of her. Tragically, Heather would never get the chance to start those classes or realize her goals. Just 2 days after that joyful phone call with her mom, Heather's life was violently taken from her. On the morning of August 7, 2015, Heather's co-worker and close friend Kelsey Price arrived at their shared workplace expecting to see Heather there as usual. When Heather didn't show up, Kelsey wasn't initially worried. Heather occasionally overslept, so she tried calling Heather's phone but got no answer. Following their usual routine when this happened, Kelsey went to Heather's apartment nearby to check on her. She let herself in with the spare key Heather had given her. What Kelsey found inside was unimaginable. Heather's lifeless body was lying on the bed. She was found lying on a mattress on her stomach in the apartment living room. Detectives saw signs of blunt force trauma to her head and marks on her neck to indicate strangulation, and she was possibly sexually assaulted. She was in a red puddle, attacked in a way so brutal Kelsey couldn't look. With trembling hands, she phoned 911 and begged them to find her friend's killer. Authorities arrived at the scene within minutes. Sadly, the paramedics confirmed what Kelsey already knew: Heather could not be revived. The forensic team found evidence of a violent struggle, and tragically, they saw too that Heather had been strangled and suffered blunt force trauma to her head. The crime scene was one of the worst many of the investigators had ever encountered. The first responders needed to take some time off and attend counseling, and the horror was not over. A little later, the detectives would find out that the killer had recorded the attack on video. Tonight's stunning new developments in the high-profile case of a young Murfreesboro woman. The prime suspect allegedly recorded the fatal attack, and Heather once called him one of her closest friends. In the days and weeks following Heather's murder, the detectives worked tirelessly to piece together what had happened and identify her killer. They interviewed Heather's friends, co-workers, and acquaintances, trying to construct a timeline of her final hours. Her devastated family had only one thing to say: "Who would hurt our baby? She was the kindest person we knew." Indeed, it was yet another tragic case of bad things happening to good people. Soon, authorities learned that on the night of August 6, Heather had gone out to a local bar with friends. Around 11:40 p.m., she called a male friend named Michael, saying she felt uncomfortable because another man at the bar was aggressively hitting on her. Michael came to the bar, confronted the man, and then took Heather to get food at a diner. Around 2:30 a.m., security footage showed Heather and Michael leaving the diner together. Michael told the police he then dropped Heather off at her apartment, watching her walk up the stairs before driving away. This made Michael the last known person to see Heather alive. For a time, Michael was considered a person of interest in the case. However, his DNA and fingerprints did not match evidence from the crime scene, and his alibi for the rest of the night checked out, so detectives began to look at other potential suspects. A crucial break in the case came when investigators were finally able to access Heather's phone. They discovered texts she had sent in the early morning hours of August 7, asking a man named Brandon to come over to her apartment. This was the first time Brandon's name had come up in the investigation. Shortly after, lab results came back on a bloody fingerprint found at the crime scene. It was identified as belonging to Brandon Bowling, a 22-year-old male who worked at a local sandwich shop. Police quickly moved to bring Brandon in for questioning. When initially interviewed by authorities, Brandon Bowling attempted to downplay his relationship with Heather. He admitted that they had met at a bar a few months prior and hooked up, but claimed he hadn't been to her apartment since July. However, confronted with the evidence of his fingerprint at the scene, Brandon's demeanor changed dramatically. "What did you do yesterday afternoon?" "I went music, out. Went to G's." "Well, okay. Who were you with?" "A friend of mine." While he didn't confess outright, his body language and evasive answers made it clear he was hiding something. 2 days later, they arrested 22-year-old Brandon Bowling for first-degree murder and rape. A search of Brandon's phone revealed the horrifying truth: not only had Brandon assaulted and murdered Heather, but he had a pattern of predatory behavior toward women. Investigators found videos on his phone showing him assaulting Heather on 2 previous occasions while she was incapacitated, physically helpless, unconscious, or unable to communicate a desire or unwillingness to participate in an act. Even more disturbingly, they found video footage of Heather's final moments as she fought for her life against Brandon's attack. Indeed, this predator not only committed heinous acts but also liked to film everything. The videos were his trophies. Assistant District Attorney J. Paul Newman said, "The video from the cell phone of Brandon Richmond Bowling was one of the most shocking videos I've ever seen in my career. You could see Heather Nicole Maples being raped. It was obvious that she had been beaten and she was suffering. The evidence against Brandon was overwhelming. His DNA matched samples found on Heather's body, the bloody fingerprint placed him at the scene, and the video evidence on his own phone showed his heinous acts in graphic detail." Bowling was supposed to go to trial in late 2017. However, as he waited for his trial, the list of charges only grew longer. District Attorney Jennings Jones said, through the course of the investigation, it became apparent new evidence was found, and based on that, new charges were added. I believe there's been a charge of sexual battery that had been added. These charges are dated June 2015 and July 2015, that is the same summer that this monster took Heather's life. The charges were added after all the evidence from his phone had been processed, but that's only from what he'd filmed. Detectives are unsure if Heather was his first victim. Who knows what else Brandon had done before he decided to film some of these atrocities. One thing was certain, though, for Bowling and his attorneys, he was facing the death penalty. In February 2018, Brandon Bowling pled guilty to first-degree murder to avoid the death penalty. He was sentenced to 40 years in prison without the possibility of parole. But although a sense of justice was felt by Heather's family, they couldn't shake off one thought. Heather spoke about Brandon as a friend, even a longtime friend whom she trusted. He was the one she called when she felt down. She had no idea who he really was until the very last moment. She died terrified, learning she had trusted the wrong person when it was already too late to run away from him. The case gets even more tragic. Not only was Heather not dating or sexually interested in Brandon Bowling, but she also had a boyfriend. We texted in the morning, throughout the day, and she never texted me back, said Charlie, Heather's boyfriend. They had been dating for about 3 months in August 2015, and a week before Heather died, Charlie moved to Knoxville to be closer to her. He had also gotten the courage to tell her he loved her. I'm so glad the last day I had the courage to tell her I loved her. That was the last day he saw her. It's impossible to put into words how Charlie feels now and just how sad it is that Heather never got the chance at happiness with someone who truly cared for her. While Heather's murder was not a case of domestic violence in the traditional sense, there are still important lessons to be learned from this tragedy about recognizing potential danger, even from those we consider friends. There are several key red flags to be aware of in any relationship, whether romantic or platonic. These include possessive or controlling behavior, pushing physical or intimate boundaries, and not respecting when you say no. Other warning signs can be aggressive or violent tendencies, even if not directed at you specifically, as well as substance use issues. A pattern of lying or deception is also cause for concern, as is pressuring you to be alone together or making you feel unsafe or uncomfortable in any way. In Heather's case, Brandon had exhibited predatory behavior in the past, assaulting her while she was incapacitated. While Heather might not have been fully aware of these incidents, it is a reminder to trust your instincts. If someone's behavior feels off, it's crucial to pay attention to these warning signs and take them seriously, even if the person is someone you consider a friend. Heather's tragic story also highlights the importance of basic safety measures, especially for young people living independently. Simple actions can make a big difference in personal safety. Always lock your doors, even when you're home, and be cautious about who you allow into your living space. When going out, let friends know your plans and use caution when meeting up with someone you don't know well. It's vital to trust your instincts. If a situation feels unsafe, having a safety plan and people you can call if you feel in danger is also crucial. This might include having a code word with friends or family that signals you need help, knowing the quickest exits from places you frequent, and having emergency numbers easily accessible. While we can never guarantee our safety 100%, taking these basic precautions can help reduce risks and potentially prevent dangerous situations from escalating. One of the most powerful moments to come out of this tragic case was the response of Heather's mother, Jennifer Hunter, at Brandon's sentencing hearing. Jennifer read a victim impact statement in which she said, "I forgive Brandon Bowling for killing my daughter." This extraordinary act of forgiveness speaks to Heather's own compassionate nature, which clearly came from her mother. Jennifer even went on to embrace Brandon's mother in the courtroom, recognizing that they had both, in a sense, lost a child. "I wanted to be sure that she and I connected because they are victims too. They didn't plan this, they had hopes for their child." While Jennifer's capacity for forgiveness is admirable, it's important to note that forgiveness is a personal choice and not something victims should ever feel pressured to offer. The focus should always remain on supporting survivors and preventing future violence. Jennifer's actions show a powerful way to break the cycle of anger and retribution, but each person must find their own path to healing after such a traumatic loss. Our lives since she's been gone have been awful. We miss her terribly. She was our everything. Heather's case was not domestic violence in the typical sense. Bowling was not her partner. However, the story touches on many of the same issues surrounding violence against women. Domestic violence remains a serious and pervasive problem in our society. The statistics are sobering. 1 in 4 women will experience severe physical violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. On average, 24 people per minute are victims of sexual assault, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner in the United States. Perhaps most disturbingly, 1 in 3 female murder victims is killed by intimate partners. These numbers are shocking, but it's important to remember that domestic violence can happen to anyone, regardless of age, gender, race, or socioeconomic status. It doesn't discriminate and often escalates over time if not addressed. There are several common warning signs of an abusive relationship that everyone should be aware of. These include extreme jealousy or possessiveness, attempts to isolate you from your family and friends, and controlling behaviors such as checking your phone or dictating what you wear. Verbal abuse, put-downs, and threats are also red flags, as are unpredictable mood swings and pressuring you sexually. An abusive partner may blame you for their problems or emotions and use intimidation or violence to control you. If you recognize these signs in your own relationship or that of someone you care about, it's crucial to reach out for help. Remember, abuse is never the victim's fault, is never to blame, and resources are available to support those in abusive situations. It's crucial to remember that you are not alone and that you deserve to be safe and respected in your relationships. Reaching out for help is a brave and important step toward safety and healing. In the years since Heather's death, her family and friends have worked tirelessly to keep her memory alive and create something positive from this tragedy. They've shared her story to raise awareness about violence against women and the importance of personal safety. Like I said, she is our first thought in the morning and our last thought at night. There's not a day that goes by that Heather's name is not mentioned in our home, and that is how it will be forever. Heather's dream was to become a counselor and help others. While she never got the chance to realize that dream, her story has undoubtedly touched and potentially helped many people. By learning from her case and becoming more aware of potential dangers, we can all play a part in preventing similar tragedies. Heather's friends summed up her legacy beautifully. Heather was an amazing person, a contagiously beautiful, incredible person. Let us honor Heather's memory by striving to embody those same qualities of kindness, compassion, and joy that she brought to the world. We can do this by being more aware of the people around us, offering support to those who may be in difficult situations, and working to create a society where everyone feels safe and valued. The story of Heather Maples is undeniably tragic. A young woman with an endless list of hopes, dreams, and feelings was taken away in a senseless act of violence. Bowling's cruelty is unfathomable. We could watch a million true crime cases and still not understand how a human being is capable of such evil. While nothing can undo what happened to Heather, we can learn from her story and use those lessons to protect ourselves and others. Recognizing traits of narcissism, psychopathy, and sociopathy can be crucial for our personal safety and well-being. These traits often manifest as a lack of empathy, manipulative behavior, and a disregard for others' feelings or rights. Watch for people who consistently put their needs first, show little remorse for hurting others, or seem to enjoy causing distress. They may be charming at first but quickly become controlling or emotionally abusive. Look out for frequent lies, even about small things, and a tendency to blame others for their own mistakes. People with these traits often have a grandiose sense of self-importance and react poorly to criticism. They might also show impulsive or risky behavior without concern for consequences. If you notice a pattern of these behaviors in someone, it's important to maintain strong boundaries and seek support if needed. Remember, while these traits exist on a spectrum, consistent disregard for others' well-being is a serious red flag. Heather's case reminds us that danger can sometimes come from unexpected places. While we shouldn't live in fear or paranoia that our friends have hidden evil intentions, being aware and cautious can help keep us safer. It's also a powerful reminder of the impact one person can have. Even in her short life, Heather touched many people with her kindness and compassion. By sharing Heather's story and the lessons we can learn from it, we honor her memory and potentially help prevent other tragedies. Let us strive to create a world where everyone can pursue their dreams free from violence, just as Heather should have been able to do. In doing so, we can ensure that Heather's life, though cut tragically short, continues to make a positive difference in the world. Thanks for watching, you guys. Let me know what you think about this case down in the comments section. Do you think we can keep ourselves safe from monsters like bowling? How? Before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and click that bell button. See you soon, and stay safe.